Okay, we are live.
Hello, everybody.
Hey everyone, welcome back.
Our first show of 2021.
Oh, it is. Perfect. And we are live on YouTube, so perfect. It's working.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. So for today's video, we are reviewing Shipped by Angie Hockman. I have a picture of it.
Perfect.
I think we both listened to the audiobook.
Yes. Which is kind of how I've been preferring my romance books lately.
You know, it's interesting because I really like romance on audiobook as well.
It just goes by so much faster. Plus, you can kind of hear the wit and banter better versus in your head. It makes it feel more real. So
Yeah, because if it's a really good audiobook, they're able to do the different voices.
yes.
So do you want to go first and tell everyone what you rated it?
So I rated this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I liked it. I was very hyped for this one, and so I was a little let down that there wasn't more for me to love, but I still enjoyed it.
Yeah, so I actually did the same. I gave it a 3.5 as well. I agree. I think it was so for it being an adult romance, it felt a little juvenile to me.
Oh yeah, I could totally see. I mean, besides them being older, I could totally see this being like a
right
YA,
right
upper YA.
Absolutely, because you use this term in one of your vlogs, the fade to black romance scenes. Apart from, I think they say a few dirty words, a few bad words, like 3 times. Apart from that,
tame.
What?
It was very tame.
Yeah. Apart from like a little bit of cussing, there really wasn't too much that made it super adult, like you said, apart from their age.
And I suppose if you're a young adult, you may not want to read about issues in the workforce. So
That's
maybe
true.
that makes it more adult. But I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know, would you still classify this as romance? Or would you classify it as fiction?
Is it not listed as romance?
It is, but the romance isn't like you said, that it's not super heavy.
Right.
I've also read Flat Share by Beth O'Leary. That is labeled fiction. Same with Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and that whole series is in fiction. There's romance elements to it, but it's fiction.
You're right. Because a lot of it is about her.
Yeah. So, and The Hating Game by Sally Thorpe, that one has more raunchy sex scenes than this one, and that one's labeled fiction, not romance.
But that's YA, is it not? The Hating Game? No, it's the gosh, what's the other book that she wrote?
For Sally Thorpe?
I'm getting mixed up. Sorry. Go on. I'm thinking of something else.
I think I wonder what the distinction is between romance, being put in romance versus being put in fiction. I would probably consider this one more fiction with a romance element.
I could see that. Like if it were YA, it would be 100% in the fiction section, I believe. Yeah, because you're right. Because I don't think it's up there with Red, White, and Royal Blue, which is fiction, right?
No, it's romance.
Sorry, romance. Yeah, that's what I meant. And what are some of the other ones?
The Honeymooners.
Yeah.
Christina Lauren book.
Yep. The Love Her or Lose Her series.
Yeah, Tessa Bailey.
So that's all romance, right?
All romance, which all makes sense for romance.
Right. This is more yeah, you're right. There's not that much romance in it.
More slice of life.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot more going on.
So do you think
besides
that we would have given it a higher rating if it was labeled fiction versus labeled romance? Does that change the expectation enough to
Not really. I think I would have given it the same because once again, so she brought up a lot of good elements in this book, but like barely skimmed the surface of it. And I feel like we could have gotten more. It was a pretty short book. Like the audiobook itself was what, 9 hours, 10 hours, something like that. Short. Really short.
Let me see how many pages actually were in here.
I'm tweeting that we're live. Sorry.
336.
Oh, pages. Wow. Yeah.
So it's pretty, I mean, compared to others. Hold on, I'll be right back.
Are you okay?
Yes. Sorry, I was just very overexposed, so I was flipping around my light.
Oh, yeah.
So it was diluted more, and then it fell over on the dog.
Zara just did that as well. That's so funny. Right before I started on, I felt like I heard a bang, and the light fell on her. Poor thing. Okay, sorry. I was tweeting that we were live because I forgot to tweet.
No problem. So Red, White, and Royal Blue is a little bit chunkier.
Yeah, it is.
It's not that short. Like 338 is not that out of the ordinary. So I think she could have really worked in more with it.
Yeah, that's true.
What type of aspects of the book were you looking for more development from?
Well, so she brought up like abusive relationships, but it was just like.
Yep.
Granted, this book wasn't about that, but it was like a 5-minute snippet. Like there wasn't any like we need to go to the police. You know, he threw something like, "Hey, Aaron." It was just like. By the way, spoilers. Sorry. I don't know. I just felt like why put it in if you're not going to expand on it?
Like slight tokenism.
Yeah. It was just barely there. And like I thought it was gonna a good point to, it was a good way to bring up important subject, but she didn't really expand on it.
Did not do it justice.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say if you are looking for something with good representation of an abusive relationship that has a romance heavy topic, Flatshare does it really well because they focus on the development of that and what that trauma looks like and how it manifests, and like it doesn't just happen it doesn't just stop when you separate yourself from the person that's abusing you, and how it like follows through. So if you're looking for a good recommendation for that, I would recommend checking that one out.
Interesting. Okay.
But I agree, that was very skimmed over and it didn't really feel like it was meant for the book.
Right. It was just like so random. Like, I don't know. It just made
like giving her a personality without.
Yeah, and I guess it was supposed to be like her way of Henley's way of like breaking out of the bubble that she was in, like her selfish bubble, all about her, that her sister had been in a abusive, toxic relationship and she didn't know anything about it, and now she's like realizing that there's more than just her tasks that she needs to do, but it just still was just so random. Like, I don't know.
I would totally follow a book about her sister.
Yeah.
I was wondering kind of they were like trying to set that up, but kind of failed. You know how they do like the sister books with romance ones? I was wondering if they were trying to set that up with that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Walsh was great. She was probably my favorite character, honestly.
Well, and I was like getting so pissed before I knew that she was like trying to help her.
Oh, so, yeah.
Okay, I've got like notes on things. So my first complaint.
Okay.
Corn is from Iowa. Not, I think they were saying, like, Ohio. And I was like,
no, what? Idaho. They're from Idaho.
Oh, yeah. So potatoes. Like, potatoes and corn, it's not the same. Like, so I was, like, immediately irritated because I'm from Iowa. So, like, obviously that's going to stick out big in my head. And I know it's not going to stick out big in anybody else's head. But, like, I was reading that and I was like, why are they talking about corn? I don't understand why that's being, like, the focus of it when they're talking about where he's from.
So, like, super stereotype.
Well, they got it wrong. Oh. If you're going to put it in, make sure, like, if you're going to tease someone about it in a romance book, make sure you got the right vegetable for the state, like, what they grow.
Fair.
So I was just annoyed about that I was like, what?
That's funny.
So I really liked the competing aspect of the job part. I definitely felt like the hating game aspect mixed in.
Yeah, I really like that as well. It's interesting because, like, it made me think about, like, what would I do? Like, and I feel like they were very professional and cordial about it, like, not trying to necessarily sabotage each other, but still, like, going for it. Because I mean, and in my personal opinion, like, which you see, and maybe this is where, like, you get the difference between, like, YA and fiction. I feel like in YA, the love interest or, like, the main character would give up, or one of them would give it up for the other. Does that make sense? And then whereas in this one, like, as adults, they were able to say, okay, I like you, but I'm going for this promotion. We both are, acknowledge that, and acknowledge that they're going to do it professionally.
Yep. And that's not like, if you go for this position, now that you like me, things are over type of thing. It's not like
exactly
one thing.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas, like, if it were YA, I feel like there would be so much more drama.
I could totally see that, yeah.
Right? Yeah. Like, you don't see two teenagers going for the same promotion.
So the pitch for this book is a mix between the hating game and the unhoneymooners. And I can kind of see that comparison. I think the only comparison with the hating game that you get is that it's both a competition, but I can totally see it's like Unhoneymooners.
Yeah, I could see the Unhoneymooners. I haven't read the hating game, so I can't comment on that. But yeah, I could see the Unhoneymooners.
Did the misinformation or miscommunication thing kill you?
No, because I feel like it was done well. A little bit, because, like, I mean, that is so.
You believe the miscommunication?
Well, it's just so random. Like, my phone was acting up, and it's kind of like I was like, I understood where she was coming from. Like, really, your phone was acting up? Seriously? And I like how she kind of checked it just to make sure, and that she was big enough to apologize.
So, like, fine, we can accept, like, I just don't find that believable. Like, come on. Like, who doesn't correct themselves if they don't hear and they're just agreeing to whatever, like, especially in a new job, you're agreeing to something, like.
Yeah, that's true. And
I just was like, I find that very unlikely.
Yeah.
His phone was cutting out and then he was saying, oh yeah, like, and going along with it.
Yeah.
Especially because it sounds like the douche of a boss kept bringing things up. So, like, wouldn't you have caught on somewhere? I didn't buy it. And so I was annoyed at that part, that it was like the miscommunication being like, oh, how convenient his phone stopped working at that one moment that this big thing is all tied on. I wish there was more of a solid conflict for them to resolve versus being like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of makes it like it's an easy out. It's kind of like,
I mean, it's too easy to fix.
Yeah. Like, it didn't take too much thought, effort into the plot.
Yeah. So I just love that part of it.
Yeah. I mean, and I wouldn't necessarily consider that too much of a miscommunication. Like, my thing is like when people hold things from one another, like, deliberately. Granted, she should have said something, but I understand where she's coming from because she was, like, so blindsided that, you know, someone else was taking credit for her work. And then by the time, and, like, we know that her boss is not a likable character. So she came up with the point that if she had said something afterwards, he would have just thought that she was whining. And then, you know, a year's gone by and now it's too late. So I can see where she's coming from, you know, especially if you have a boss that's like super intimidating and, you know, if you don't like confrontation kind of thing, I can see why she didn't necessarily stand up for herself right away.
I can't, like, that part is believable to me, but it, like, if I'm just thinking, like, I was in that position and someone was taking credit for my work and getting praise, and then I got reprimanded on top of that, that would have, like, pissed me off enough to go to that person and be like, dude, seriously, you need to say something because I'm not taking that type of thing. Not even to our boss, but to the person who took credit for me.
She should have.
That's, like, too high of a level for me to comprehend. If you're getting reprimanded for something that you didn't do and someone else is getting credit for your work when you did do it, like, how does that not piss you off?
I agree. Definitely. So I think you're right. Going back to like romance fiction, I feel like this should be fiction.
Yeah, I agree. I also loved the small boat confined spaces tropes. I was like in it. Like I was about like that being not being like a giant cruise ship. It's like a tiny little cruise ship that they might be on.
Got it.
Love that aspect of it.
Okay.
Because I feel like you don't really see. At least I don't see boat stories.
No, I don't think I've ever
perfect for romance.
I haven't read anything with a cruise. I don't think.
But now I want to. Like it fits in with like the confined spaces and it's like more secluded.
Yeah. I like and you're stuck together. You're stuck. Yeah. You can't go anywhere.
Yeah, I definitely think that's like another trope of mine that I'm like top of my list.
Awesome. What did you think of the Nikolai story?
Like I like that there's something to like spark the jealousy there to like get him to react, but I wasn't like loving it. I mean, and but it makes sense though because of like on such a small boat, like people will form cliques. So I mean, it makes sense, but from how they described his sister and his sister being like so much more open and like more promiscuous in the way that she was dressing than the main character, I find it unlikely that he would have like continually skipped over her sister to be able to like hit on her.
Yeah.
Multiple times.
And like he says that it's because she looks like his ex. But I think that I liked the idea of like you said, it gave that jealousy. I kind of wish that he had stayed as a kind of like a grimy character, kind of like what's the word? Just you know, like
just like a boy toy, like a
and like not had that story. I think it would have made it a lot more fun. To have, you know, gosh, I'm forgetting it. Graham, there you go. Yeah. Like Graham and Henley like added fuel to the jealousy with him. Instead, like not that it was a bad backstory, like how, you know, he's sad and he, you know, he left his fiance or whatever, but I think it would have been better if it had just stayed as like satire.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you definitely would get a different reaction versus like being soft to him and his problem like would have been more like testosterone filled anger.
Yeah, it would have been, I think it would have been funnier. It would have added a lot more comedic like comedy to it.
But I will say like I love the jealousy type of flirting with the other customers, like that when he was flirting with that old lady of like getting her the right like flipper size and like I loved that aspect of it. Like,
that was
great.
I thought that was fantastic as well. I really did. I thought that was good.
The lip sync scene.
Oh, I loved that. Yes. I thought that was great.
I did think like Nikolai's lip sync was a little much, and like the fact that the rest of the girls on the boat were all like like older women were all like excited about it.
Take it off.
Yeah. And I was like,
see, that's what they should have just that's why they should have just kept him as like the grimy guy that is just trying to get some versus like adding his story to it. I think it would have just been funnier. You know what I mean?
Yes, like we should have gotten more development from Walsh than Nikolai. Like Nikolai could have stayed more one-dimensional.
Correct. Kind of Walsh. Exactly. Kind of stayed that character on purpose, you know?
Yeah.
I have some trying to figure out how to get our notes. Oh, here we go.
Do you think Henley was overreacting about Graham telling the cruise captain?
No, because he saved her ass.
So, like...
but I also think the cruise captain was kind of, like, out of line with, like, stepping into her room.
Oh, yeah. And, like, watching them?
Yeah.
Like, that part, I'm like, they're grown adults.
Yeah. I also think it was, like, out of line for him to, like, keep banging on her door.
Yeah. Like, it's one thing to, like, be aware of something going on or, like, keeping an eye on them, but, like, they still deserve their privacy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really didn't like, and I didn't like that it was, like...
I didn't like the captain at all. I don't know if we're supposed to like him.
So, like, it's hard because, like, I didn't like him, but also I didn't, like, hate him because he's trying to do his job, but, like, also I didn't like him either.
I agree. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote, okay, so I took a few bookmarks as well. I know we mentioned that we really liked Walsh as a character, but what did you think of, like, her in the plot? Like, do you think the story would have been just as good? Like, was she necessary?
No.
Yeah, I agree.
See, I think she was put in there because I think and I could be way wrong, but I think that the author is trying to write a book from Walsh's perspective. And I think that, like, maybe that's my take on it because I've seen so many sister books come out that, like, that's a natural progression in a romance series. But I can see that being the case. And I even wrote on here, abusive relationship with Walsh feels a little random.
Yeah.
Would you read a second book in Walsh's perspective?
I think I would.
See, I think that would be way more interesting.
Yeah, I'd like to see her coming of age and, like, getting this new job, potentially.
Yeah, they would be on a cruise.
Yeah.
I would be so about that.
Yeah, I think it'd be really good. Yeah, so when I was about 7 hours in is when I wrote that I was, like, not liking the sister plot. I was like, wasn't liking it too much.
So, with the Walsh perspective, if there was a second book, we could see her development. It would also be confined spaces. The sister and Graham could be on the boat too, like visiting her, so we could still see snippets of their relationship, like later on. I think that would be so good.
I agree.
I think that would be way better than the first book.
I agree. I would totally read it. I also, did you feel that this was, like, insta-love?
I don't know, because it's not exactly instant, because they've been, like, staring at each other for however long with Zoom meetings and, like, working.
Oh, you're right. And they've been, like, communicating back and forth, and they've been working together. They never actually met, but I mean, obviously you can become very close via social media and stuff and online. So I guess you're right.
So, I wouldn't say insta-love, but it didn't feel very, like, rooted and real.
It was like insta-lust.
Yeah, like, yeah. Because I suppose you can lust after someone you've never met, too. So that doesn't, like, I just don't think that there was, like, a lot of substance there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or, like, they didn't have a lot of connection.
Yeah. But I guess you're right. Like, I mean, she hated him. Which is a pretty strong emotion. So it's easy to turn that strong emotion into, like, love or lust, I guess.
Yeah.
And then, I also wrote that it was a slow burn. We didn't actually get a steamy scene until we were 75% of the way in, and still that was like it didn't even finish.
Yeah.
It wasn't until the very end that they actually got together. So I agree. Like the whole romance, it was very, very
fade to black. Yeah.
Very, yeah, and very slow burn.
So I'm trying to figure out how you would get this to not be like to have more substance, because if you look at it, like maybe we should evaluate our romances through this year that we've got other romances of put these characters on paper. Would they be matched up like on match.com or whatever, like, you know, where they analyze the personalities and put them together? Because like, what is really driving them together besides close quarters?
Well, I actually think they have both. They have really good work ethic. They kind of enjoy, like, they're both wanting to work in the same realm as well. Like he does more social media and she wants to, I mean, it's still kind of all like marketing. Granted, you don't have to like be in the same profession as your spouse or your partner.
But it's at least it's some ties to being like
right
that they can share.
Yeah,
I think they both are interested in conservation.
Yes. Well. Yes. So they both have, so they both have very similar work ethic. They both have, I think, just similar ethics in general when it comes to the world. I see a lot of similarities between them, actually.
So you would say that they would match up then?
I think so. I do. I think, and I mean, because you need someone, like, you have to have a little bit of opposition in your relationships as well. So she's a little more spitball, a little more rash, whereas he's a little more level-headed and can calm her down a little bit. But I also think that she like helped, can bring him out of his shell a little. So I think they work well together. I didn't entirely love this book, so I wasn't completely attached to the characters, so it's kind of hard to like ship them. No pun intended. It's kind of hard to like ship them because I only rated it like a 3, but I think that if I did like the book more, I would have been super gung-ho for them.
So I don't think they have a ton of chemistry, and I think that's what like made it lackluster for me, is I didn't feel that spark between them. Like, and I can see that they've got some qualities in mind, but that's also like the same qualities that you have with your coworkers. So it's like there's not sparks between your coworkers either.
Yeah. So. That's true. Okay.
But I mean, like, I suppose that they would like get talking, but I don't see them like. I didn't feel that chemistry. Yeah. So it's like I felt like it would be more platonic, if anything.
Okay.
I mean, not now. Now that they're like
together
through it, yeah. But like, if I would have like met them at the beginning and like personalities, like I wouldn't have matched them up.
Okay, very, very fair, very fair.
Versus like Court of Thorns and like Roses, or like with Akomath, like their personalities, they're both very strong. They're, you know what I mean? Like they have the right values that they value the same. They've got the same type of personalities. Like they have more in common, so you feel that chemistry. Versus this was just like, and I think that's based on the writing too. Like you just don't feel it as much.
Yeah, I felt like the writing was a little juvenile as well. Well, not juvenile, but it was very easy to follow along. Flowed very well, transitioned well. It was well written, but there wasn't a lot of. It was just very. you know, this scene, this scene, this scene, this scene. Although she did have a lot of like similes and metaphors, I will say, and a lot of them were like super random and funny. I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now, but I do remember just like laughing and chuckling at a few things that she'd said.
It was very simply crafted.
Yes, yes.
So it's not necessarily like a simple book, but it's just simply crafted. It was very straightforward.
Straightforward. Perfect. Yeah. Yes, that's what I was looking for. Yes.
Versus like I like a little bit more complications and things because like, and I think that goes back to like what we're used to reading is like that comes from more fantasy based.
Yeah.
So we're used to having multiple elements, and there wasn't that in this book.
Yeah, the plot was very streamlined. Yeah. The plot was very streamlined.
Which is fine. Like that's romance doesn't need to have several different plot points working together.
And it usually doesn't.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just that's what we're used to, or that's what we prefer. So I think that's why it also ties into things too.
Yeah, and that's where you and that's where the you know, like how do you rate a fantasy? It's hard, like, you know, when you rate a fantasy book a 3, would that, you know, if it, you know, would that be like
on the same level as a romance?
Exactly.
Did you catch or suspect the boss twist at the end?
No, I wrote that too. Interesting plot. I knew he was shady, and I figured he was just like
misogynistic.
What?
Just misogynistic.
Yeah, and I figured that Graham was gonna get the promotion, and I figured that he was told from above that he had to have candidates was my thought process. So he like picked her and him, but he knew he was always going to give it to him. I didn't see him stealing her.
Right?
Like that is ballsy.
And like hush, I was so fired up at the end that I was so pissed that like
me too.
Oh, it was going back all the way for like through of how long this has been going on of like being turned down for stuff because and just like him gaslighting her on like
oh my god,
that's not a good idea, and then turning around and submitting it for himself. Like what a piece of shit.
Oh I know, and what's crazy is she should have like realized it, that her thoughts were like her ideas had moved forward because she had been with the company for like 3 years. So she should have been like the Snapchat, like when she realized they're on Snapchat or whatever, she should have been like, wait a second, that was my idea. You know, like I'm surprised she didn't catch on.
Well, I like it depends on how big the company is, because like you could submit something to your boss and your boss says it's a bad idea, and someone else on the other side of the country submits it to their boss and they're like, oh, that's a great idea, and that gets moved forward.
That's true.
Like, I could see like her writing it off if she had low self-esteem or like not being able to connect that stuff.
Yeah.
But like you're right, like after several times, because I'm sure like his name was attached to things too. Like if those were big initiatives that got pushed forward that he got credit for, I would assume that information would be spread out to the rest of the company, being like, thanks for this great idea, blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, did you find it plausible that she got such a huge promotion at the very end? Like huge. I feel like it was a monumental jump.
Here's my thought process. I could see it happening because look at how a male superior was stepping on a female underling and how big of a lawsuit that would have been.
Yeah.
That would have been, here's his promotion. You know, like,
yeah,
don't say anything. Like we don't condone his actions, and we're gonna like write this by giving you this promotion. One, because your previous work has like stood for itself, and also how much they could have sued the company for wrongful treatment.
Yeah.
Or sexist treatment.
That's true.
Because there's no like there's nowhere that they can say that the rest of them didn't know. You know?
Yeah.
That it was her information or her ideas being passed along without her getting credit.
That's very true. Yeah, and I mean, I guess he did say you're on like a temporary 18-month trial period, and we'll go from there. So I guess it wasn't just like handed to her.
Yeah.
Well, I mean it was, but like I don't know. I find it just a little hard to believe that she goes from like just a regular like a manager to like she just goes straight from I don't know. It'd be like being at a law firm for just a couple years and then being like, "Oh, okay, we'll make you partner now."
I guess.
I don't know. It
But it's
just
also
seems
like
like
she proved like how much money she
I
raised
guess you're right. I guess you're right. That's why I was like
during that trip.
that's why I was like, "Oh, it seemed like executive, like she automatically is like an executive now." It just seems very
And you also have to
far-fetched.
remember this is a small company too. This isn't
That's
like
true.
Amazon where like you're now an
That's true.
executive. This is a very small community.
That's true. And they probably don't have like unlimited positions.
Yeah. So like you could be an executive at a company and only have like 30 employees.
That's true. That's true. Just because yeah, that's very true.
So I can see reasons behind that
Hi,
one.
Kaylee. Yeah, that's
So I
it's
didn't have a problem with that.
yeah,
I was blown away by the twist at the end. And I'm glad that he like was a part of it. Like that
yeah.
he was helping
Hmm.
catch him.
I was also kind of blown away with like once again, like you said, it's a small company, so I have to keep that in mind. But like how she can just get a meeting with the CEO today,
That part
I'd
did
be like,
surprise me.
I'm like, no, that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like you are like young people, teenagers that are reading this are probably thinking,
Okay.
I'm like, no, in the real world, you do not just call up the CEO and get a meeting with them.
One-on-one meeting. Yeah.
No, no. And usually even with a small company, they're so freaking busy. So busy that is like insane, to like get like my husband works for a really small company and like just trying to talk to his boss that like him and his boss like delegate work, him just trying to like get in contact with her to figure out the next step because they're both so busy. They're like, okay, let's make a meeting like in a couple of days, let
Yeah.
alone like a mealy employee trying to get a meeting with the CEO.
Yeah. Yeah. That part I guess is a little surprising. Uh and that they like did it within that same day of like having
Yeah.
them all come into like not only did he take their meeting, but he also called for another meeting on that same day. I mean, I guess my boss will send me like an email a couple of hours being like, "Hey, we're having a meeting in a few hours," and I'm like, "Okay, that's on my docket for today now."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Kevin's the same thing. He'll be like, "Oh, this popped up. Okay."
Yeah. So I guess
Um,
like that one's not as hard to conceptualize.
but when you're the C, and it sounds like it's his company,
Yeah.
because he says like the way I run my company. So I'm not, I don't know. I don't know too much about companies and stuff like that, like stocks and, I guess like if they're private, if they're a public company and stuff like that. But yeah, I found that really, I don't know why I'm harping on that small, significant of an issue, like insignificant of an
Yeah.
issue. But for some reason, it just really bothered me because I was like, there is no way. There's no way.
Well, and it's not even teens reading this. This is adults reading this. It's supposed to be for adults, so it's not
Yeah.
even like they're all gonna catch that too, being like,
Yeah.
mm, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, do we have anything else to add? I feel like there wasn't too much to dissect.
I think that we went over quite a bit of it. I liked like that we got to see a little bit outside in like was it the Dominican Republic? Is that where they went?
Galapagos.
Galapagos. Um So I like that we got to see some of it, but I felt like we could have seen way more on the island. Like, why didn't they like do way more? And I liked the parts that we did see, and like the random woman who like had saved up all of her money to be able to go. Like, give me more information with her. Like, I want her to like be part of the story too.
That was so sweet. Yeah, so Kaylee says that she's the same way. If there's one detail in the plot that is unlikely or illogical, she can't let it go.
Yes.
Same.
Like the corn thing because of Iowa, and I was like harping on that for way too long.
Oh,
being like,
see, and that's something that like just like
scrolled past.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought that was really funny. So he's from Idaho, correct? No, she's from Idaho.
They're both from that place because
okay.
That's where he was stationed at. Oh. And she was also from the Midwest somewhere.
Got it.
Not from Idaho though.
Okay. Because he mentioned, or is she from Ohio?
I think she was from Ohio and he was from Idaho.
Okay. And then he went to New York.
Yeah.
And then, he went to New York and then at some point went to Cornell, then went to Michigan State, and then was at New York, and then, yeah. I don't know the entire timeline. Not that it doesn't matter too much.
So, I was gonna say our next book.
Oh, yes.
A Court of Silver Flames, Sarah J. Maas, which is actually being propped up by my computer right now, so I don't have it.
This chunker, this lovely 750-page chunker.
So, did you end up getting the Barnes & Noble exclusive?
I did not. I know, I'm really sad, but that's okay. I just ended up ordering it on Amazon. Sorry.
I'll let you know what the exclusive bits are with our.
Yeah, I wasn't able to get it. So, and I actually got my copy really late because of the storm that hit Texas.
Yeah. That'll be next month. I'll be very, very excited for that.
Yes.
Oh. I'm just thinking. So it's the first Tuesday of every month. That's what we settled in.
Is it your birthday?
First.
No, that's the 5th.
But it is, my birthday's on the 4th on Sunday. So it'll be a few days after, which will work out.
The 6th.
Yes. So, yeah. Is there anything else you want to touch on for Shipped?
No. I think I'm good. Anybody else have any comments or thoughts? I know, I feel like I'm hoping that A Court of Silver Flames, I know we're gonna have a lot to discuss.
Oh yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm so excited.
Oh yeah, there's just gonna be a lot more content to discuss.
Yeah. 750 pages.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So I'm excited. And then do we want to say what our have a good night. Thanks, Kaylee. And then do we want to mention what our well, I guess it's on your Twitter, but we can also mention what our
the lineup is.
Yeah.
So, A Court of Silver Flames is our next one that we're doing. After that, it will be on Gabby's channel. Will be Zara Hussein is here. May will be on my channel, and that is Forest of Stolen Girls.
I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah. On Gabby's channel, it'll be Casey McQuestion's new book, One Last Stop, which will be exciting because we love Red, White, and Royal Blue.
Yes.
And then July's will be on mine, The Poison Heart. Yeah.
That one I'm really excited for as well.
Yeah. And of course, those will all be like, for example, March is Court of Silver Flames, but we're not doing the live show until the first week of April. So it'll, be shifted that way.
Yeah. And that way it should give you plenty of time to read it. I think March is a longer month. Yeah, March is a longer month. So I'm glad that we picked shipped for the month with 28 days.
Yeah.
And A Court of Silver Flames has 31. So we're gonna.
The Court of Silver Flames came out like mid.
Yeah, I've already started it. I'm like on chapter 4 or 5 or something like that. I think you're further than I am, though.
I'm still reading. I'm catching up on other things, so I put that one off to the side. So I'll be reading that one this rest of the month. So.
I'm so excited. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining our live show, and we will see you guys next month.
Yep. Thanks, guys, for watching. Bye.